Jeffrey Dahmer soaked in blood.
The Unabomber blowing up.
Waco, Texas, and Heaven's Gates.
Aliens modified, meant for apes.
JFK shot in the head by the CIA.
Bigfoot and the Mothman.
Son of Sam talking to dogs again.
Witches,
Ghosts and goblins.
mysterious noise and hauntings.
Dark arts in the skull and bones.
Most celebrities are probably cloned.
So if you're feeling all alone,
Crack a beer and get stoned.
I welcome you to the podcast Strange Brew.
We're here to entertain you.
We're here to entertain you.
It's about to get strange.
Take up the white man's burden, our blood built all you see. We carve these lands from nothing for our own blood to be free. Now traitors sell our children to strangers not our kin, and call it peace and progress while they wipe out all our skin.
Welcome to the white man's burden. From Canada to America to France and Europe, the damage being done by the Kalugi plans working. Zionist bloody hands subverting our cultures into melting pots of perversion. Our ancestors' skeletons rot beneath the surface, walked on by foreigners in dirty feet and turbans. The disease of overbreeding of the third world is worsened, screaming that we deserve to be murdered for past things our governments did, and somehow we get punished for this. You call us racist while you make judgments because of our skin. We're labeled as hateful if we love our own kin. If blacks attack whites, it's fuck them. But girls are reversed, to be violence, riots, and destruction. But the media is silent and eyes are suffering. Our entire system is built on lies and corruption. The blame game orchestrated by the same names. Everyone else can defend themselves. If we do it, it's supremacy. Kids scream for help, they tell us to bend a knee to a foreign hostile enemy. They declared war on the nuclear family against our people's honor and legacy. From the people who killed the Kennedys, they steal identities, erase our memories, even hate when we breathe, inject poison so our race won't breed. We are the descendants of those that fought to be free. Now everyone that's white is called a Nazi if you call out their hypocrisy. Our culture built the world you exist in, and now a certain group wants us to submit to our extinction.
Take up the white man's burden, the last of our noble breed, betrayed by our own leaders who sell us out for greed. They flood our towns with strangers, tear down the flags we knew, and call our death progress while they erase our youth.
And of course, by now, I think we all know what they mean with the words diversity. It means less white people, less of you.
Our children sacrificed on the altar of diversity. We have to fight for our cultural fall internally, irreversibly changing our way of life. Our children will be the ones who will pay the price. At this rate, a race won't survive. We're afraid of being called racist. To stand up and fight. Brainwash the kids to feel guilty for being alive when they can afford to build a house or thrive. Give them a list of reasons why they should take pills, kill themselves and die. Tell them to hide that feeling inside of having self-pride, because you're only allowed to be proud if you're not white. I'm a proud, pasty white dude with great genes. I'd hate me too if I looked like you. You'll have to admit you've been lied to, because it's easier to deny the truth. So fuck you and anyone like you.
Take up the white man's burden, and the last of our noble breed, betrayed by our own leaders who sell us out for greed. They flood our towns with strangers, tear down the flags we knew, and call our death progress while they erase our.
When another white boy or a white girl dies at the hands of an immigrant, we might shake our head, we might let out a sigh, we might even get angry for a minute or two, and then we go on with our lives. But nothing ever changes. This is a response of a society that has already given up. Their vision of the future is the neoliberal, unrecognizable Europe. Ugly, dirty, unsafe, zero social cohesion, and what are we left with? A permanent state of and welcome to the New World Order. We are the daughters and sons of the greatest nations on earth, and we need to ask ourselves, what has happened to us? Where do we come from? And more importantly, where are we going?
Pretty epic, eh?
That was good.
We are watching the fall of Western civilization everywhere around the world. We are witnessing the demise of all the nations that were built and created by white Europeans. And if you deny this reality, either you are lying to yourself or you are complicit in it. And doesn't matter where you come from or who you are, if you don't acknowledge that this is happening, you clearly are complicit in it. Welcome back to Strange Brew Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tomcat, aka Tom Thompson, the Reptilian. You can check out my new album, The White Man's Burden, on all music platforms. That was just a sample of some of the stuff that's on the album. We have a reoccurring guest, someone who's been on the show before. Actually, it seems like almost a couple of years ago at this point. I'll have you introduce yourself, but for all the fans out there, make sure to support the show. And our original episode was taken down off of Spotify, so I'm hoping maybe I will re-upload it and maybe change the title to something a little more fitting for Spotify. But welcome back to the show. Can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes, thank you for having me on again. I am MK. My @ is MKWhatAboutIt on TikTok and X and Instagram, but I don't use it as much. I'm a nationalist content creator from America. Mostly just make short form content, talking about issues, news, just kind of what's going on.
I think you would do well on Instagram. Like, I think that you should try to utilize it. Because I
feel like Instagram, it's more like short form, like really short form. So I've thought about maybe taking my longer clips and just having AI clip them into like under a minute segments and just posting those.
I think you do great content. I think it would do well on Instagram. People would tell me that, like, some of my videos, a lot of them were like, 2 to 3 minutes. And people were like, make it shorter or whatever. But the thing is, I think you'd be able to accumulate a big audience, but then it sometimes happens with content creators like us, is I reached 21,000 people and then has stayed at a stalemate for now months. It's because as soon as people like me, there's a nationalist group called Second Sons in Canada. Jeremy McKenzie is the leader of that, and his account has also stayed stagnant at the same kind of like just around 22,000 people mark. And I think as soon as you get kind of well known, like I got my Facebook up to 34,000, and now it's dropping because I'm restricted. Oh, so yeah. And they were doing, like, some of my clips were getting hundreds, like 100,000 views, talking about Canada, or even my Blame White People song got like 100,000 views. So like and then they suppress you, right? And a lot of the content that I had taken off, or even something recently they took down, where I was in the caption, I was talking about the ethnic replacement of Canadians, how it's clearly happening, and then it's labeled as dangerous. So this has happened before, and then I always label it like you just simply existing, like white people just simply existing, is dangerous according to these algorithms.
It's really funny if you look at like actual terms in service, and I'll just use TikTok as an example. They basically say you're not allowed to like talk about anyone that's a marginalized group, and then they list basically everyone except for us as a marginalized group. So
of course.
You're not allowed to complain if you're the one race.
And it's we clearly see it everywhere, right? And there's some stuff we could get to, and it's like, and I always say this too, like I know we've had fans of all walks of life. I'm sure fans have, we've gained new ones and we've lost old ones because of the stuff that I chose to cover. But this is important to me, and I can prove that what I'm saying is true. And what is going on is accurately happening around the Western world, where I have friends one of my co-hosts is in Ireland. I have friends in Britain. I have friends in Australia. Like, I know it's happening everywhere, and we're being demonized and told we don't have a right to exist or a right to our own nations. So if people are not aware of you, what got you into this? Because you're fairly young, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm 25.
Yeah. So like, I really started digging my feet into this, like, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago or so, maybe a little more. But what kind of, again, for the audience that doesn't know, what kind of switched that on your head to be like, oh, like, I need to speak up against this.
Well, I noticed the double standards, just kind of started picking up on what was happening. But I think the biggest thing was realizing that you really cannot talk about it. Like, they make it near impossible. So for me, it's almost the principle at this point. Like with immigration, to me, the basic definition of having a country is like you have a border, you control who comes in and out. If I can't say plainly out loud that that's what I want without having to like give an extended explanation of, oh, I'm not racist, I don't hate, like, obviously I don't hate anyone, but like, to me, it's the principle of it. Like, if you're going to gaslight me and get really mad when I talk about it, that makes me want to talk about it more.
Yeah, I'm actually the same way. The more that they tell me not to do something, the more I want to. And a lot of people, a lot of these immigrants and stuff like that, I have a huge problem with, especially in Canada. Since we last talked, there are still even more Indians coming into this country and other ethnic groups, and they're just like destroying the country. But then the egotistical entitlement that a lot of these immigrants have, claiming that they're benefiting the nation when they're clearly not. A lot of them are subsidized by government wages. They're actually being paid, and then they're like, well, they're buying up all the housing and all of the businesses and the real estate. And it's like, yeah, it's because the government is actually institutionalizing the destruction of white Canadians, the actual Canadians, and then handing it off to everybody else. And even before we came online, I saw like an ad on Instagram for like the black communities across Canada coming together and them showcasing how like they're working with their indigenous brothers and sisters, all this Marxist like critical race theory shit essentially. And then it's like, imagine if there was a commercial on Instagram for we're building white communities across Canada. Like, it's just the double standard shit of like these different ethnic groups within our homelands that are allowed to collectivize and build communities and be proud of their communities in the homeland that my ancestors built is so crazy. And the hypocrisy of them telling us not to care about these issues and telling us to shut up and like hand our homelands over to foreigners.
Yes, no, I hate more than anything the like, oh, you can't remove me. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, okay, so you admit you're an invader. Because the basic definition, again, of a country is that you control who comes in and out. So if your host asks you to leave, then yes, you will have to leave. Like, it's a huge problem to me if you don't even basic respect us enough to, like...
That's why it's crazy. They're a guest, right?
Yeah.
They're a guest.
Act in someone else's country. Like, if I was in Japan, for example, of course I wouldn't try to take over their government. That's insane.
Yeah, this was happening in Canada. Look at Ontario. Yeah, it's crazy. Dr. Paul Minder Singh.
Somehow.
Yeah, Sudeep Verman Gutran Singh. It's all Indians. Essentially, every single party, conservative, liberal, NDP, which is essentially a communist party. They're all Indians. They've they have infiltrated every position of power, and they've done it through scamming. And a lot of things, as we're discussing this, is I think a lot of these immigrants and foreigners don't understand the definition of a nation. So here you go. This is actually from Google. There's other places you can find the definition. A nation is a large, self-aware community of people who share a collective identity based on common cultural, historical, or ethnic traits, such as language, tradition, and ancestry. And so people don't understand, like, the fact that they try to claim that Americans aren't an ethnic group or Canadians aren't. We are an ethnic group of people.
Yeah, they confuse the definition of nation with the definition of country, which a country could be an economic zone. It's not as specific as a nation. A nation is ethnic.
And it's crazy that they try to gaslight us. And my thing, too, is these people can't wear our identity as a costume.
It's so weird to see the skin suiting you.
Well, I can't go to China. Even if I became a Chinese citizen, I wouldn't be Chinese. And the thing is, they're like, I always hear this argument too, and I'm sure in America they do the same thing. Well, the real Americans are the indigenous, or the real Canadians are the indigenous. And I'm like, that identity of a Canadian or an American or an Australian did not exist in any form. Show me documented proof that the indigenous were calling themselves Canadian, because you won't find it, because the Canadian identity.
All of the founding documents.
Yeah, it's so crazy. What do you, we can get a lot of stuff, but I've heard you speak a lot about like colonialism and stuff like that. What do you think about the whole like stolen land? Like, because I always push back a lot against that.
That was one of the biggest things I started with pushing back in, because I think it delegitimizes us, basically. So it's a violation of our sovereignty. It's basically just a way for them to normalize, oh, you can't have a border. So I see it as just like a weapon almost. And you'll notice most people that use it are not the groups, like they're not indigenous people. They are groups that want to just use that to gaslight and try to like guilt trip us.
There's a guy, I can't remember his name, on X. I found the most base native guy ever. And he was like talking about how he's like, it's not stolen. This was like fought for and won by white Europeans. They won and they built a civilization that maybe we could have never created and stuff. And it's like, I will and always like support people like that. Even I saw, we can kind of get into a little bit of the Henry Nowak stuff, because I think that's disturbing and showing, these dangerous cultural changes that are happening, especially in Europe, but it's coming here too. And in Canada, they're actually allowing the Sikhs, which, people like get mad at me for this, but I think it's a 600-year-old terrorist religion, a terrorist organization. It's not really a religion. It was founded on essentially terrorist activity. They've committed the biggest they committed the biggest terrorist attack in all of Canada. They blew up a plane, the Air India bombing, and they've also they're killing people on the roads with trucks. It's getting really bad here. We had a similar story. I can't remember the kid's name, and it was in Canada, and maybe Windsor. A kid got I think he got stabbed up by a Sikh, and they try to claim it's ceremonial dagger, and now they're allowing them to have it on an airplane throughout Canada.
It's so crazy, especially when you think about TSA, or at least in America, what we have there. We started doing that because of 9/11, and now you go to any airport and it's just straight up Muslims running all over.
Yeah, or the Sikhs being able to have their kurpin a dagger, and this thing bothers me too, is them utilizing our laws and our freedoms and our structures against us. So these religious rights and freedoms that our ancestors upholded for our people was, Catholics, Christians, the people that built and founded this nation. It was never intended for Sikhs to use against us so they can carry around weapons. And I'll just show you a little example of what's been going on in Canada. And this is just a clip from one of my songs too, but check, this is on a street in Ontario. In the middle of the street, there's Sikhs just on horses, barefoot and with spears and stuff like that. It's crazy. And the cops are just allowing it. So check this out.
Our home is the hotel for foreign parasites. Diversity is the strength, it's the war on whites. How dare you cry racist as you invade us and terrorize our nation with foreign crime. They open the borders to the New World Order as the Goyim died. To more.
That's just another clip of fun diversity. But isn't that
fun multiculturalism?
Dude, crazy that they're allowed, and the cops do nothing about it. They're literally just waving spears and swords in our streets. And, to me, to Canadians, I'm like, what does a foreign invasion look like to you? Just because they're not rushing on the shore with boats, people waving spears and swords in your streets. That's a form of, they're invading. They're essentially telling you that they are taking over and that they, and the same thing we do with the Henry Nowak case. What are your thoughts on that? And the fact that he cried race because he knew he could use the word racist, to essentially, get the kid arrested after he was stabbed. Yeah. What are your thoughts on it?
That's one of the reasons I stopped caring what people think about what I'm saying, because it's true. Maybe you don't like it, but it's at least based in fact. But also they use the racist attack always against you. It's a tactic for them, and they use it because it works. They will stop using it when it stops working. So I kind of think people just need to have a spine is the only way verbally you can deal with that.
Well, and the fact that he clearly was the perpetrator and the criminal that stabbed a young 18-year-old boy who had a life ahead of him. Seeing the clips of him with his sister and stuff like that breaks your heart. And then you see the symbolism within the shot of when they're handcuffing him. And if you know, what does the glove look like? Can you see it? It looks like a demon's hand.
It looks weird. It looks just like a photo.
Yeah, and this is the actual shot from when they were handcuffing him as he was dying, and they tell him, I've been stabbed. I said it 8 times, and they were like, "No, you haven't, mate. And it's crazy when you think about like the symbolism within this shot of the fact that the cops that are holding the white kid down as he's dying, and then the Sikh Indian claims he was racist, so they handcuff
like,
him.
If he was racist, that's like a valid reason to stab someone, which I also don't like that framing. Like, just because someone says something mean to you does not give you the right to kill them. Like, what?
And that's what they're in. And it's happening in Canada. It's happening all around the Western world, where somehow the idea of racism and being racist is worse than murdering somebody.
Yes, they try that one in America all the time. Like, you could come up to me and say the meanest thing you could come up with. It would not give me the right to shoot you. Like, that's not a proper reaction.
Yeah, and that's why, like, despite what people think of, like, Chud the Builder or whatever, it's the fact that, like, he was proving, like, hey, you can just call these people a name. Like, essentially, like, the N-word is not an excuse for you to fight, kill, or try to harm somebody.
Yes, and it's one thing to, like, slap someone, like, bitch slap someone, or, like, even a punch, whatever. Like, people lose their temper. But, like, to stab someone over a word, you should not be in public around normal people. Like, civilized people do not act that way.
No, and the thing is, we can get into some other stuff too. But what was your reaction to the Henry Nowak when you actually like saw what happened or you heard about it?
I mean, I just think it's more of the same. Like, we clearly live under anarcho-tyranny where the police do the opposite of their job. And I think they're starting to like highlight these stories, because there's so many now that they have to, but also because I think they're trying to like rub it in that like there's nothing you can do, like kind of trying to make people feel helpless, if that makes sense.
It kind of it's in the same regard I think of to like the Epstein stuff, right? Is that they put it all out there. We all see that they all call us goyim, and essentially that there are massive pedophile rings around the world, and Jeffrey Epstein, I think, is just scratching the surface. And then they rub it in your face of nobody's getting arrested. There is no accountability. And instead of rioting over this, you have people rioting and breaking shit over the Knicks game, sports ball, or losing their shit over FIFA, all this goy slop stuff. And it's crazy that you'll see people break things, riot, smash cars for even just winning a basketball game, but they won't do the same over a massive pedophile ring that's controlling our governments essentially. And then they rub it in your face.
Yeah, I think it's like a demoralization tactic, but also like with them doing crises like Epstein and then Henry Novak and then Austin Metcalf. So it's all of these crises back to back to kind of keep you, I don't know, to basically like normalize it of like all of these things are happening all the time, but you don't even have time to react to this one because now we're already covering this different disaster. So it kind of keeps people scattered and they forget, oh, Epstein, because now you're thinking about Henry Novak. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then aliens. They're like, forget about Epstein.
Forget all the illegal aliens already in our country. We're gonna have some come down from the sky. Just join the party, I guess.
Yeah, that stuff is so bizarre to me because like I've always super been into aliens and conspiracies. That's why I started the show. But then it's so funny when they're like, yeah, aliens exist and there's like reptilians and maybe even feline type alien creatures. Everyone's like, I don't really give a shit. You guys are killing this entire country. You know what I mean?
I think I always crack up when they talk about like colonizing Mars. Like, bro, like the streets are broken. Like, why don't you colonize your own country?
Well, that's the problem with Elon to me too, right?
It's just like, I think billionaire escapism. They don't want to deal with the problems here. So they just have all these like megalomaniac fantasies and it manifests differently.
I think that's the whole point of why they're really trying to push AI is I think they want AI to solve their problems.
I think they're terrified of the AI, honestly.
Do you think so?
Because it's basically like a pattern spotting machine. So you could use it for like evil purposes. I'm sure that's what they want, but like it has a lot of uses and it kind of makes a lot of their roles obsolete, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's why I wonder the rich, and how I think they want it almost there's a probability of what you're saying also, because you can dig up information about things they might not want you to know. And if you push it, it lies all the time. I always say this
you have to be able to push for it and like push it, but you can get like, it's much better than Google at least. Yeah,
I agree. And at least not ChatGPT. It used to be more based. That thing's really bad now.
Well, that's what I mean by like, they're terrified of it. Like they have to it's called like reinforcement training or whatever, to try to get it to spew the lies, because it's not going to naturally tell you like men or women. You have to program that in. But when you program that in, you cause other problems in the AI, because now it's not just operating from truth, which would be like the default. So yeah, they like throttle it. If you do not throttle it, it just tells the truth. So
I know there's people making their own too that are like truth AI or something like that. I've heard about similar
it's like
ideas to
uncensored.
this.
Yeah, I mean, they'll always have a bias. Like whoever's programming it will program their bias in.
It's telling black people crazy shit. I don't think they should have got, it sounds racist, but like they shouldn't have gained that technology to some people, because they're like, oh, we were like Mozart and we were like the Egyptians and we were the Jew and we wazari. That shit is crazy to me.
The thing with or at least in America with black people, I feel like it would solve a lot of the problems just to tell them the truth. Like, I feel like almost because they're fed these like delusional ideas, that's why they have them. Like, it's constantly reinforced and they're almost rewarded for having these ideas. So I think you just told them the truth. Like, people are different. Race is real, but it doesn't mean you can't be things. It just is a factor in life.
No, and it's like,
loves us all. Like, I think that's a much more empowering and true message than like all of these fake lies.
That's what they're trying. It's trying to pit people against each other, of course, right? And they've kind of lost their mind. It's not everybody. I know there's some really based black dudes out there that
we got some in America
that are actually like trying to push back against this stuff. I've seen a lot of. I like the Hodge twins. There's another guy I follow that is really going against the Zionist stuff, and he is like essentially like pro-white European civilization. He's a black guy. Some of them do realize what's going on and what's happening, and they're not conditioned. A lot of them, it's not maybe it is the majority of them when we see how they react to certain events, like when we talk about, a white kid was murdered and there was no riots, the murderer gets convicted and there are riots. We are not the same, right? Like it's this whole thing of the way they react to certain events. And then even their like whole complaint about slavery, like the word slave comes from Slavic, like stop. Yeah. And where's our reparations?
But it was taught, like in their defense, it was taught to them like the Western slave trade was the only slave trade that ever happened and the worst one. Like it's framed in a way where their response or how they feel about it, I think makes sense. But that's why we can't teach people lies. Like we need to just teach the truth. And that doesn't mean lying about it. Like you can still accurately talk about what happened. But telling people, oh, because hundreds of years ago this happened, today you're a victim is crazy.
And then where is the reparations for white people? Because more white people were enslaved during the Ottoman Empire than blacks ever were. And the thing is today too, if you're a black person out there listening to this, in Africa or whatever, and you're against slavery, why aren't you stopping it happening in Africa to this day?
Literally today. Yeah.
Like, so
people that call us slavers, it's funny. Normally their countries still allow slavery today, I notice.
Yep. So it's this hypocrisy. And, like back in Canada, like it was always like the token cool black kid. We had a friend and he was just like a chill guy and everyone wanted to like get along with him. And now, I had one of my buddies, Mac, he was like, they ruined that with multiculturalism and the mass immigration because, we always had that like token kind of black friend that hang out with all the white dudes and, and now because it's this, we didn't have it as bad as America when it comes to the racial segregation and these civil kind of ethnic tensions as much because Canada was like 98% white until like the 80s, 90s.
Well, super interesting about it to me too is like, at least in America, it's kind of believable gaslighting the melting pot idea because we always have been multi-ethnic. And by the way, some people think this is an unpopular opinion. I think multi-ethnic can work. Like you need the right governance for it, but like having a minority, like a 10% black population is not a big deal. There's plenty of countries that have minorities. That's not the problem. It's really the scale and the fact that most of them are newcomers now at this point. We're being outnumbered by people that have gotten here in the last, 20 years. Oh, but my other point with that is I think what's happening in other Western countries is because, America exports our culture. So we're exporting diversity into countries that have never had it. It's part of our foundational story, but it's not a part of Ireland or Canada. They don't have the same origin story. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. And it's, and you see even within Britain, right? At the turn of the century, Britain was literally 99.9% white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Britain, like essentially after World War One, Britain was World War II, I mean, was 99.9% white. So within 100 years, and I've made this statement a lot, white people across the globe have went from 36% of the population to less than essentially 7 now, right? So you can't tell me that they're not systematically trying to replace us. Like that's,
they definitely are. And
we can see it.
Like when they're not busy saying, you're not allowed to talk about it, they're bragging, oh, look at this milestone. Like,
in Canada, the politicians are bragging about it, that we're being ethnically replaced.
I feel like it's like haunting. I mean, at this point, like, they've kind of realized they can get away with everything or anything.
Both sides.
They're like, no one's going to stop me. Like,
and it's the white traitors of I have nothing against anybody, but people I have the most thing against is the white traitors, the people that are treasonous to their own people.
Okay, and other people, it makes sense. Like, at least they're acting in their self-interest. Yeah, it's not in mine, but like from their view, at least it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like you have, essentially a lot of the ethnic Indian problems within Canada. They're taking over like entire cities, and then like there's huge, like there's a place in BC called Surrey. And it's like essentially the Indians within the last, like, it hasn't been that long. It slowly started within the 90s, and they always act like they've always been here. But we have the documented evidence that this country was pretty much white, like 99% until like the 70s, right?
I think ours started in the 90s too with the Indian invasion, but it was better quality and way less.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, I've said this before, like my family, my grandfather was from Toronto and was a firefighter there. And a chief actually, and they lived across from a family who was ethnically Indian or whatever, but they like assimilated. They tried to become Canadian. Their kids didn't have accents anymore. They dressed like us. They acted like us. That's not what's happening anymore, especially with the Sikh community, because they're obviously. I pulled up a little article how the Khalistani movement ties to drug trade and gang culture endangers North American communities. And that's the problem with Sikhs. As I said, like maybe it's not all Sikhs. I know there's some staying against this stuff. And when I see this, I will applaud them. Like there was a Sikh on X that said he's actually petitioning to get the Kirpan essentially taken out of Britain because he wants people to assimilate. I saw, but then I saw one guy that was talking about the Kalergi plan as a Sikh and saying he doesn't want white people to go extinct. But then when the Kirpan question came about, he wanted to keep it. So it's like if you want to have those ceremonial religious symbols, daggers, whatever, do it within your own nation. Then you have Punjab, go do it the fuck there. But the huge problem with the Khalistani movement is it's literally a terrorist organization, and they're flying these flags in over government buildings in Canada, like essentially an imaginary country of terrorists because they commit terrorist activity. They are literally, there was one flag in Ontario in a government building, essentially an imaginary country's flag is like up on our government buildings.
Yeah, no, that's a sign of conquest. Of course they see it that way.
Yeah, and they'll prioritize their own people, but then it's like, that's why my whole thing about the hypocrisy, then if white Canadians they demonize white Canadians the most. They demonize Second Sons constantly as a nationalist movement in Canada who does a lot of like they have an active club, and then they'll go out and do activism of holding signs that say remigration, or they'll draw conclusion. They'll, go to where there's crosses been laid of all the fentanyl deaths. And then they try to paint it as, white nationalists, are using this for their own agenda or whatever. And I know some of these dudes personally, and they just care about the country and the people that are being killed.
Yeah, I saw some meme where it's like, oh no, not the evil far right seeing yet another event that completely confirms their worldview. They're going to use this for their agenda.
Yeah, and we clearly see this, like in Canada, they have killed 100,000, more than 100,000 people with medical assistance and dying made, and that's something that people. Tucker Carlson, it's 97% of them, 96% of them are white. So they're literally genociding white people in Canada.
Yeah, and then they steal your organs. Did you know that too?
Yeah, they sell them. And they killed it. They suicide. Whatever. I can't even watch what I say on YouTube. But they unalive. That's why I hate unalive. You have to like change your wording.
I know, we were like in 1984 with like the words.
It's crazy. But this kid had seasonal depression. He was 26 or something like that, and he had seasonal depression. So they're like, we can sign you up for MAID. And now the craziest thing is they're trying to make it involuntary.
So just
yeah.
I mean,
so
I
if
guess
you're sick,
too, but
yeah, if you're sick, you're in a hospital bed, you're taking up space because that's what they claim we are. That's what Trudeau said. These people are just taking up space, literally saying like genocidal. Crazy. And that's people should be alarmed by that. Over 100,000 people. If that is almost so, between both World War I and II, 120,000 Canadians died during World War I and II, a major world war event. So we're getting to the point where the state has sanctioned unaliving, essentially killing its own citizens almost at a more rapid rate than both world wars combined.
yeah, no, in my opinion, like all of our governments have essentially declared war on their citizens.
How have they not? We clearly see that by ethnically replacing them. And we
like,
clearly see this happening.
I think it's probably same deal in Canada. Like if they just stopped welfare funding, all the like paying these people to invade us, do you know how many would leave?
I know they
Or,
stop.
like, don't give illegals bank accounts. Like I always think it's funny that we're doing these like elaborate, expensive raids that are very unpopular. When illegals can get bank accounts, like why don't you just make it impossible?
Well, that whole the ICE thing is a psyop, right? They're not doing it in places where they know they can catch a bunch of illegal immigrants. They're doing it in liberal cities that will cause outrage.
Yeah, and so they can be like, "Oh, we can't do it. Like we tried."
Yeah, manufactured chaos, and they will use this then to essentially look. They tried it, or they'll have to, have that Renee Good. She gets killed, shot, and then I would truly believe the police, the government, executing its citizens. I think it's wrong. I think that obviously they were crazy, and she was an abusive woman, and the shit I read about her. But the thing is that it's only also setting a precedent for the fact that they can create a kind of martial law state where they can actually enforce this. And this is the more that they get us used to these things. These murders that are constantly taking place, the death of white people everywhere.
Like
they're getting us used to the fact that it's happening. Like clearly we're at war. There's no way to say this. I'll play this little clip kind of, this is what's happening, right?
How long must we walk through this misery? When will the chains fall and the blind men see? Oh, when will we be free from this tyranny?
How much more are we willing to tolerate in this godless place? If you speak truth, they call it hate. We're watching our civilization fall from grace. Our nation is being pillaged, robbed and raped. We're kept captive, hostage in this rotten.
Like how many more people? And that's just like that's just a handful. Like that's just like Henry Nowak, obviously Austin Metcalf, and then the Ukrainian woman.
What's interesting too, because they just this has been happening for years. Like it's nothing new, but they just started covering it basically in the last couple of.
It's not new. There's so many cases of this happening. They've suppressed it, and then they try to act like it's not happening. But they have suppressed. There's tons of news stories and things that have came out recently. But before that, there has been tons of murders of white people by different ethnic groups on a mass scale, where the numbers are probably incomprehensible to most people. And they just cover it up. They constantly do it. Same with. I'd like to get your opinion on the grooming gangs.
That one is one of the most, or it's what radicalized me early on. Just reading the reports, because I read the grooming gang, not all of it obviously, but I read excerpts from it. And just what the men were saying about the girls and the fact that nobody cared, it's just peak gaslighting because you're told your whole life, oh, you're privileged, like you have all these privileges. Well, I don't really see being raped or killed as a privilege. Like,
No, and that whole idea of privilege, right, is the idea that our ancestors sacrificed everything. That's the whole idea of white privilege. It's like, yeah, our ancestors sacrificed everything and built a nation that your ancestors were never capable of. So we get to be privileged by what they did and sacrifice their lives in so many ways to create these nations. And I like from, people coming across the ocean, barely making it.
There's something like
alive.
1 in 3 or something on the way over didn't make it.
Yeah, and then they're in Canada when they would show up. There would was it at the beginning like 600 settlers died, and there was only like 200 left, and then they sent more. And it's like the amount of people that is sacrificed in so many ways and had to bury their children on another continent because they wanted to try to build something somewhere else. And then obviously they're confronted with the people that are already here that were already killing each other on mass scale in tribalistic warfare. And then some groups aligned with others. Like this whole thing of like North America was born out of a struggle through unity and through tribalistic warfare. Not this whole thing of like the white man just came in and started killing all the natives. That literally never happened. It didn't exist. That's not what happened in any regard.
Well, and they act like we stole like the roads, the buildings, the infrastructure. Like it wasn't just there.
Well, and then we have the worst aspect of this too, which I think is crazy, is you have, especially Indians, because they're the most egotistical and entitled people I've ever seen on earth. And they're like, go back to Europe. And it's like, motherfucker, my ancestors built this shit. You go back to India. Without us, there is no Canada. There is no America. There is no Australia. You're here because white people built this. The only way they can get over across the ocean in a plane and come here in a mass scale in any regard is because of white people. So this idea, and then it's like, what am I supposed to go back to in Europe? My family's been here for 422 years. I'm supposed to go back to the multiculturalist hellhole and the invasion that you guys are also
invading. Europe, where y'all also are invading.
So it's like their hypocrisy. It's like crazy. I've done a couple, like at least 2 or 3 videos. One went pretty viral talking about this. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is a European nation. It is a Eurocentric nation.
They don't get, obviously they're taking advantage of like our high trust systems. Like they see it as just like an easy thing to scam because they're largely scammers. Mm-hmm. It's also just the rudeness of it. Like, again, I would never go into someone else's home and be like, you know what? I actually built this. Do you know that? And I'm better than you. And yeah, I'm just here to take over because you can't do it.
Some of the stuff with the grooming gangs is crazy because they're like, you gotta watch on YouTube with the rape gangs. Essentially, that's what they are. If a white Christian man has systematically raped 250,000 brown children for a decade, it would be the biggest scandal of half a century. But because brown Muslim men did it to white children, the authorities continue to cover it up and the media continues to refuse to talk about it. And the stuff that I heard about what happened is fucking disgusting. And this should radicalize an entire generation of white people. They need to wake the fuck up and realize what's being done to them. And 250,000 young girls, women, they were breaking off bottles inside of them. The shit that I read, it is utterly disgusting.
No, it's literally all sacrificed on the altar of diversity. It's like, are we going to admit perhaps this isn't working ever? But I think for the people that are hardcore in the multi-cult, as we like to call it, it creates like this cognitive dissonance. Like they don't want to accept that they were wrong because they're so like kind of invested in this idea. They're like, I need to defend it. I need to die on this hill.
Which is this whole thing of cognitive dissonance where they don't want to like actually accept that they were lied to and that this isn't a positive thing. And
I think it's because that is psychologically hard to accept. Like it's a jarring realization to realize, oh, the people you think their job is to protect you and represent you have completely turned against you. But I think it's better to know than not to know.
I agree. And then you have obviously a woman fell to her death from 3rd floor after a machete-wielding teen threatened to torture her.
That's it. They always call them like teens too. Like you look at
it was a migrant. It was an invader. And again, what do you what do you think of feminism? Because I'm under the impression that progressive white women will bring the death of Western civilization.
I think like largely men are better in leadership positions and with governance, things like that. I don't know. I think if we had a good like meritocratic system, hypothetically, it would filter out the bad ones largely. But we basically, I don't know. Feminism is one of those things that I think is like well-intentioned maybe for a lot of people, but it's been worked into something that, at least for women, like we've gone almost full circle. Like now they're glorifying being like an escort or like an OnlyFans girl. Like that's not empowerment, that's being objectified.
Yeah, and you know, let's be honest. Jews are behind feminism. There's 100% proof. There's like 90% of the people pushing it. The Rothschilds also sponsored the movement, and at the heart of it, I'm saying it was more or less like you could say it at the beginning maybe positive, but they wanted to make everyone into a goyim tax slave. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, no, and I think most women, if we're honest with themselves, we don't really enjoy working. Like I'd much rather stay at the house and run errands all day. Most women would choose that. Or take care of
and raise children. They've brainwashed women specifically too, and obviously it's the whole, you know, all the tactics being used to just systematically destroy white people while uplifting everybody else. Is this idea of that you should put your career over having children. The most joyous thing. It is an incredible experience to go through and stuff like that, and to have your own children and to raise them. My daughter just turned 1. Like it's a crazy experience, right? And actually, she's just yesterday. She's been saying like "dada" under her breath and stuff like that. But now, when she was, the wife was changing her, and she went "dada" like loud, and I was like, oh, I could cry. Like I was like teared up.
I love that age too, when they start walking.
It's crazy and it's incredible. I like push especially white people to have kids, and I will get into another controversial thing quick when we get into this, but it's this whole thing where they manufacture it, where the thing about they take the women out of the home that is teaching the children, and then they feed them into the communist education machine that tells them that they should be, ashamed of their past, of what their ancestors did, and feel guilty for being white, and you should hand over your entire nation to immigrants, and that, black people are oppressed, and you're the oppressor, and it was a tactic by cultural
like
Marxists.
A full out, like from so many directions. Once you notice it, you can't unsee it. Like it's everywhere. It's like so pervasive.
Wow, here's a controversial thing. What do you think of race mixing?
I think so I live in Texas. That's like on the border of Mexico. I think there's some level of it that's natural and normal. That's always going to happen. But the way they've pushed it and how hard they've pushed it, and who is pushing it, makes me think it's probably not something that should be encouraged.
I think people have gotten mad at me. There's someone that made a comment on Apple Podcast about this stuff, and it was just like I was just mentioning how the more I looked into it, at the beginning I didn't care. Like I remember I was trying to in high school hit up this black chick, and she was like, "I don't date white guys." And I was like, "Oh." Like, I didn't think anything of it, right? And it's fine, but if I was to say that as a white guy,
they'll get mad.
They get mad, and I bring this up all the time. And
it's just a preference. It's like if you said you only dated brunettes, like I don't like blondes. Well,
yeah, it's just a preference.
I do not like blondes.
I also think you should stick to your genetic lineage of like the ancestral bloodlines of a specific race of people, because we are genetically different. We have genetic clusters that are different. I don't want to shit on anyone else, but I've known people that have had kids, mixed race or whatever. It doesn't look like them at all. Mm-hmm.
And I think they push it because it kind of creates a not rootlessness, but like you're torn. Like you don't have the same loyalty, like blood and soil loyalty. But I mean, at a small scale, again, like it's happened throughout history. I don't think it's a big deal, but at the scale it's being done at and how it's being pushed. And now it's not just like populations that live close to each other. Now it's like
it's everywhere. Like I did a whole clip showing like it's all black men with white women all the time, nonstop. And then essentially on both sides are subverting your DNA. I truly believe that. I think that like on certain scales of like, Owen Benjamin, his wife's Asian, they had kids, like it can happen and it can be a great thing. And it can
like actually create like it can work out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't push it.
No. And the thing is too, especially, and it's only coming from a place where I'm saying there is literally billions of Indians, billions of Asians, billions of Africans. So, and white people being the literal minority of the world, other than maybe indigenous populations, which originally come from Siberia. So they're technically Asian. I believe in keeping our lineage going. I think the world would be boring if everyone was just fucking brown. And the thing is, once you research like things like the Kalergi plan, this was an engineered plan because they claim they want to rule over a mud race, a low IQ mud race. That's literally what they said. Now, I didn't say that. They said it, right? So it's just like, it's just something that like I've talked about a couple times, and I think just people find it so controversial. But then it's like my cousin grew up in Toronto, one of the most literally diverse cities in the world, and now he's said it's fucking too much now. It's going crazy. And he dated an Asian chick, and she couldn't tell her family because they disapproved, right, of her dating a white guy.
Really?
Yeah. So it happens, right? So.
Well, and I also think like if you think globally, as we are so often told to, diversity, if we do care about it, because I think diversity is good. I think the fact that distinct groups of people exist is a beautiful thing, and people can exist in their own climate and context with boundaries. I think that's how you actually have a peaceful world. So I think, there's the saying, everyone's a nationalist for the country they actually like. I think regardless of what country that is, if you like the idea of borders and nations, the countries that enforce that are the Western ones. So if you destroy our sovereignty, you basically destroy the whole world.
That's what I'm trying to say. If they destroy us, they're going to destroy themselves. It's like these people that don't understand that's like multiculturalism is a tool of the New World Order.
Yeah, I would think it's a tragedy if it was happening in Africa. Like I think Africans should be able to exist.
Yeah, me too.
When they bring up colonization, the British never tried to like replace the people they were colonizing. Like for the most part, they had like a couple hundred like people there to rule over the population. And yes, maybe that's not great, but they weren't like replacing the people. They didn't flood them like.
Yeah, I think there's negative aspects of colonialism, but I think that it was overwhelmingly positive because
you have to think at the time, like with what they can work with.
Yeah. They built civilization like India. They're always complaining about what the British did. And it's like 250,000 British troops held you down. And it's like they gave you medicine, trains, universities.
And now the trains don't work.
Yeah, or they jump in front of them, which is even crazier. It's like, but the thing is too, they always push like diversity. And it's like the most diverse people on earth is white people. We have the most different color hair, eye color. Like there's so like, and that's what I've always said is like, if I want to experience another person's culture, like Japan, I'm actually like, I like the Japanese. Actually, there's a lot of based Asians out there.
I think there's like quite a few cultures that I respect and think have like great cultures, and it would be a shame if that was
I would stand up for them. When it started happening to Japan, where they were trying to force diversity on them.
They're still doing it.
Yeah, I've heard. And I actually know, like I have fans of the show that are Asian. One woman is from Japan or whatever like that, and she came to Canada and stuff like that, and loves what the country is. And we've talked about these issues and stuff like that, and I've made a point that I stand up for that. Like I don't want that to happen to Japan. They're a very distinct people. I think as much as Canadians and Americans are very distinct, you won't find like what a Canadian is, a white Canadian, a real Canadian, anywhere on earth. We are a distinct people. And I
actually really appreciate the migrants that like do stick up for us, because it's against, they're not really having anyone that's being like, oh yay, like their own group is pissed about it. The people that are super hardcore ethno-nationalists are still pissed about it. I appreciate it though. I think it's a sign of like strong character to stand up for it just because you think it's right.
That Puerto Rican dude says he gets death threats because he like talks about like white civilization.
People get mad. They're like, you're just trying to win their approval. Like they're never going to accept you. For what it's worth, I much prefer people that are respectful and normal.
Yeah. And I told him, I was like, people like you that came to say he's in America, right? And like, appreciated the culture and the world that white people built and created. Like I'm always a fan.
I don't even mind them being here. Like if they're contributing, they don't think it's their country, respectful. To me, that's normal. Like
he's even like, I don't want to see a world where you guys don't exist. I've seen what other places look like, and it's like good for them, for like people like that forced to. And that's why I'm trying to get that one black dude on the show, but like I will talk to anyone I'll even debate people. I've made this really clear that if someone has is in a disagreement with me or my content online, like the best way to do this is debate me. Let's see how well you can actually put up with the debate without using AI to like formulate your points. You know, because that's
I always
a lot
think it's
of them
funny
do.
when you watch videos and they're doing it like they're literally using AI on the spot.
Yeah, it's crazy. So another thing is like stuff like this I find is absolutely disgusting.
Oh, so gross. Is that real?
Yeah, this is real. They put this out, and obviously there's probably a lot of Jewish organizations, but it says racism has no place in the UK, and it is a white little girl, and standing behind her is some Somalian-looking Muslim, and stand up to racism. Traditional communities, we need them the most. What do you mean? You're erasing the traditional communities of your own
Towns
people.
with diversity needs. Oh,
Yeah, it's crazy. Obviously, look down at the bottom. You can see the Star of Remphan. Look at that. So, yeah, it's all, and you can clearly see who's funding this. And this is like absolutely disgusting because 250,000 essentially children, young women were assaulted by migrants, specifically more like Pakistani and Muslim migrants. The Pakistanis are like 70% inbred. So, it's true. Billy never believes me when I tell him things on the show, but he did a fun fact one day. He always does fun facts on the show, and he's like, guess how many people in America are inbred? And I was like, I don't know, like 20%, because we've covered similar topics of like, there's a one family in Canada that was like full crazy inbred. And he was like, you're close to right. It's probably like 22% or something like that, which is even still crazy. And I was like, guess how many people in Pakistan are inbred? And he's like, I don't know, 40%. And I was like, keep going. He's like 45, 50%. I was like, keep going. He's like 60%. I was like, it's like, and he's looked it up. He's like, oh, it's 78 to like it's 80%. And I was like, yeah. So, and it's just crazy because then you're like, you wonder what that does to people's genetics too and shit. And
well,
India
yeah.
has a
And
problem
then
with that
you look
too.
at some of these countries like Pakistan, for example. I don't know what their travel advisory is, but we're bringing in mass groups of people from countries that they literally warn you about traveling to. So if it's not safe for me to go there, why do I need to import their problems here? Like,
that's why it's not our responsibility to take on all the problems of the third world, right? And that's the whole thing of like they psyoped everyone with 9/11, which there's so much breadcrumbs that are leading directly towards the doorstep of Israel, but they push the whole thing of like Muslims bad, and then meanwhile they're like, yeah, we're just gonna let them all in though. Like it's so crazy.
Yeah, it's a terrorist if they're in the Middle East, but the second they step on our magic dirt, they're a doctor and an engineer.
So I want to read this. Why are they flooding us with Indians? I didn't write this for everybody. This is just something I'm going to read off. Why? Because Indians never did. They are a population that fully content with subjugation. Even Marxists noticed this. This is true. Karl Marx noticed this. So it's easy to see why such an ideal population for the intensive global expansion era of colonial empires. And it's easy to see why they are perfect subjects for late capitalism now. They are culturally, psychologically, and physically ideal organisms for dominant systems. There is 1.4 billion of them. They are deeply socially stratified and so expected to even enjoy inequality. Their cuisine is cheap meat, free slop. They live amongst trash and filth and no qualms. They don't care about their environment. They react to death and abuse and a blanked eye indifference. They are physically and spiritually malleable. They not only adopt and internalize the demands of the dominant system as a personal ambition. They believe in servitude makes them better than everyone else who hasn't. Absolutely ideal subjects. On the other hand, you're not as ideal. And it is not saying that all Indian people are inherently bad or something like what people will try to claim, but it's just saying that we can clearly see their cultural attitudes towards things. We can clearly see, for this example, I will show you guys of what they kind of live like. So why would people that live like that be beneficial to the Western world?
No, and I think the Indians are really where they overplayed their hand. I always joke that like if they kept flooding at least the US with Hispanics, they probably could have sneakily gotten away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're culturally similar enough that I don't think people would have caused problems over it. It just slowly over time would have achieved their goal. But they had to amp it up. Now they're bringing in, Africans. They're bringing in, and I will say the US, we have it a little bit better, I think, because the top of the immigrants is probably coming here. There's the most financial opportunity.
You're gonna get it soon. Like they're taking over Texas, I heard. Like,
well, and there's so many of them, and they don't like. It's different with like. I think you could work out a deal with Mexicans to like humanely transport ones here legally back to their country. I think with Indians, they are just going to scam. They're going to fraud. They're going to throw a fit. They're going to guilt trip. Like that's just their culture. Like they'll haggle with you over prices. They will haggle about leaving. Like they're not just going to.
No,
and they will do anything. Like people don't get that. Like they will say or do anything. That's like their culture.
They believe in scamming. They think that if you're a moral, good person, that they can take advantage of you, and they think that this is a moral stance. It's literally in a lot of their culture that they think that if you are a good person, yes, who is truthful and honest, that you are weak. Essentially,
yes, you have it
right?
coming.
And that's a problem we have with bringing these people into our countries and how it is culturally changing. And just to, obviously there's a lot of issues. There's constantly, white people being murdered by migrants. Nobody seems to even care. There are 7.5 billion other ethnic groups, and there's not even 1 billion white people, right? So it's like,
yes.
And one thing I heard recently, which is crazy. So obviously, about the replacement migration,
the 70-page document.
The document that the UN put out, where people are saying like it's just a far right conspiracy. They have documented proof that the UN put out, which has always been a tool of the New World Order. As I said, the same idea with multiculturalism, right? It is just people that are fighting against the globalist order, whatever race you might be, or you stand against globalism and the New World Order from these conspiracies we hear about. The New World Order, one of their tools was multiculturalism because they don't want borders. They want districts that they can control.
And they want to be able to rule the whole world is basically their end goal. Like, I think people don't see like what the logical endpoint, if this continues, is. That is the endpoint. The same managerial class fucking it up right now is going to be our new overlords, I guess, of the whole globe.
Yeah, and that's essentially a room full of people will control the world through this. And then you wonder why they're pushing multiculturalism, because they don't want anyone to have a culture. Just because now they're uplifting, say, Indians' culture here, where they're doing their jester dances at hockey games, or they had some Indian woman doing some weird tribalistic dance for Canada and at the FIFA games, nothing but goy slop and stuff like that. So they're essentially importing in their culture, and they're trying to act like that's Canadian culture. Tell us that we don't have culture when they exist in our culture like a fish in water. Most of these people don't realize that they're surrounded by white culture and Canadian culture wherever they go inside of Canada. So it's just the absolute entitlement and delusion of a lot of these people is what really disgusts me. But the craziest
for me too. It's not like they're grateful guests that are
you're in my home,
polite and happy to be here and just trying to assimilate. No, that's not what's happening.
No, you're a guest in my home, and for you to try to show up and tell us who we are as a people and dictate our past, our history, and who we are and how you're somehow part of us is the most hypocritical, ridiculous, entitled, delusional shit I've ever heard. Like, I'm not going to go to India and pretend to be
so much, because once people realize that, it's really hard to unsee it, and it's, again, so pervasive. It's just so common. Canadians
are getting sick. It's like, wow, Canadians used to be these like nice people. It's like, no, the Geneva Convention exists because Canadians went crazy during warfare. So it's like, if you push us far enough,
we get when we get tired of it.
Yes. So it's like, people are like, why are Canadians turning so racist? Well, they're being ethnically replaced by some of the most entitled, delusional people on the face of this earth who think that somehow they're a part of our history because 10 of them existed here 100 years ago. Like, that's how crazy these people are. And the crazy thing I heard, so get this, you know who wrote the replacement migration, the UN document?
Who?
Supposedly Brett Weinstein wrote it.
No way.
Yeah. I heard Sam Tripoli talking about that on Tinfoil Hat. And so supposedly Brett Weinstein was the one that wrote the UN migration replacement. And it just shows that, they act a certain way on Joe Rogan's podcast, or they act like this this is probably true, honestly. And so they show the public a different face. It's just like Gad Saad, right? He writes that book, Suicidal Empathy, which, I listened to him on Joe Rogan and stuff. And this guy's Jewish, obviously, and promotes his own people's interests.
Too, right?
What?
He was an operative too, right?
Yes, he was a Mossad. He admits that he was part of Mossad. And then, so the same people that are behind the influx, because we can prove this, of the lobbyist groups, the NGOs that are all flooding the Western world with migrants, we have proof of this. You can't deny it. There's literal evidence of this, that the right-hand group of these people create these wars that displace people, and then the left-hand, right-hand path magic with a K, black magic, and then obviously then you have the left hand that is all sympathetic and empathetic towards people in far off lands that are devastated by these wars that the right hand created. And then they essentially engineer this collapse where they literally admit that they want to destroy Edom, which they believe is Europe. So it's like, it's crazy.
I believe they are Edom though.
Yeah. There's a lot of deep stuff, I'll play one more clip and we can kind of react to it, and then we'll bring this to a close.
Okay.
So, I just want to show this quick. This is clearly, Carmelo Anthony clearly was the, not the victim as they're claiming. You can clearly see that he brandishes the knife, and then walks into the tent, and then he stabs Austin Metcalf unprovoked. And then there's even black people online. They're like, he was surrounded by white people. He clearly stabs him. He realizes that he did this, and then runs away. And then they're reacting to it now. So we have clear evidence that he went there to stab him. And the fact that they try to act in any other way is absolutely crazy. And what I would say, what you could say radicalized me even more, was seeing the reactions and on the groups on Facebook and the things being pushed out by not all black people, but certain people within the black community, and how they are justifying the death and essentially saying, just let us kill white people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're very tribal. I think the biggest thing with them is like enforcement. Like, we're not enforcing our laws. They see if they play the race card, they can get away with it. They can essentially kill white people freely. But yeah, the reaction was really disgusting. And it's not even really one of those cases like George Floyd. At least you could argue there was like racial aspects there.
He was a drug dealer and a pimp.
Yes, I mean, I don't think that's like a legit
yeah.
thing, but it's not like some random innocent kid. Like, it wasn't like a racially charged situation. Like, race, besides like the fact that they were two different races, didn't really have anything to do with it. So the fact that like people would try to defend it as like a race thing, it wasn't racial.
He was a bully. That's what they're trying to. He was a bully. Like, you don't just because someone bullied you does not justify murdering them. Especially like, and they always cry systemic racism and all stuff. It's like, you guys are the most privileged. You are handed tons of money. You get Section 8 housing. You get everything for free. You get college tuition. You have your own black colleges. You are the ones that are privileged, especially in America. And now it's coming to Canada, where they're just funneling billions, and it's millions of dollars. I think they wanted to give like $3 to $5 million over just to the black communities because, they're oppressed. I'm always like, and this whole claim, well, we gotta, help these minorities. It's like, they're not a minority. There's billions of them in Africa. There's billions of them in India. There's billions of them in China. They're not a minority. When you come into our home, you should assimilate and adapt and become just like us. And if you're not going to, then go back to Africa, go back to China. Like, it's so ridiculous.
And that's what's so jarring about like the responses too, is like, is murder okay or is it not okay? Like,
they just want an excuse to murder white people.
Because if the roles were reversed, I would have no problem condemning some white kid that randomly stabbed a black kid. Duh, like, that's wrong. Mm-hmm. But it's wrong for the same exact reason when you flip it. And the fact that people don't see that and will like use the races of the people to say murder is okay, to me is really, really disgusting.
Ashamed by nothing, offended by everything. Like, that's a great statement because it's exactly the way they act. We'll end it just on this clip and then I'll get your reaction. This is Jake Shields and Gypsy Crusader reacting to it.
What happened with Carmelo and Austin Metcalf was very polarizing. I'm happy, though, that a lot of white people that were following the case, it made them very angry because you're attacking the Metcalf family. You're saying to them coming out of the courthouse, oh, we're glad that Austin's dead. You guys are monsters.
I'm glad Austin is dead. He's a big ass bully. You guys knew he was a bully. You guys knew he was a bully. You guys knew that the
I want you guys to know that I am 6 foot even.
My phone is at my head, and the guy in the back is his brother. You guys knew they were bullies!
I can imagine telling someone I didn't like that they're glad their child is dead. That's just truly sick.
And all of it because it's black and white. We're so close to having a real race war, civil war.
That's like the reaction. That is crazy. And not only Austin Metcalf, I talked about this when it happened, how Austin Metcalf's dad went to the black community and like prayed with them or some shit. And then it's like, now you radicalize the father, you radicalize his brother is going to be forever changed. And you're only enforcing now these racist stereotypes that you claim that you are not. And that's so like, what is your reaction to that? Because the fact that they're like, you knew he was a bully, and it's like, they've lost their son, and Carmelo Anthony, rightly so, got convicted of a murder because he's a murderer.
Yes. Yeah, I think many people, just like me, see it as completely insane. Like, there's no justification for what he did, and the fact that people are trying to justify it is the problem. Like, if people reacted to it normally, it would be no big deal. Like, they were like, oh, like, this was wrong. But the fact that they've turned it into a race thing, and kind of like I was saying, like, at least the George Floyd thing, they could make sympathetic. This is not sympathetic to the other side at all. Like, it just makes their community look really bad.
Yeah, and it's like...
Oh, I want to add, that's why I believe in free speech, though. I love when people make themselves look bad, so I don't even need to talk about them.
No, it's true. They're proving to everybody. And that's why it's like, as much as I don't agree with everything that Gypsy Crusader does... I think that we kind of need people like him to push the Overton window, right? Yeah. I had the Frojax bros on my podcast. I like those dudes. They're doing some good work and stuff like that. And and I don't even think they're even that extreme in any regard, compared to like some people out there. But you kind of need like those Chud the Builders and stuff like that. As much as I don't agree with maybe the content he was doing, I don't think it's necessary just to like trigger people using words that are going to offend them and cause them to be violent.
Yeah, I don't believe in being cruel for cruelty's sake, per se. But it's a reaction. I see these people as reacting, and they are
over
pushing
words.
The Overton window. I think there's like different strokes for different folks. Like, different things reach people differently. I think the biggest thing, I don't know if you noticed this in Canada, in America, we have like, I would say the moderate middle, and this is the people that don't really pay attention. So I think that's the biggest people to like flip, but they're also the hardest to reach because they're not as like into keeping up.
No, their algorithm's different, and like it's just they've kicked down and demonized white people to such an extent that now you're gonna awaken a monster. Like, and you even have like some based conservative black dude saying this. He's like, "What do you guys think you're doing?" He's like, if white people chose to collectivize and then actually start working together, and like, he's like, you're gonna awaken there's one black dude that says, he's like, you're gonna awaken a monster that you don't want, that
I think accepted I saw that.
Yeah, he's like, they accepted you. They always are sympathetic towards your struggle. And, a lot of white people were. I grew up with hip hop music and loving it and creating my own through that avenue of enjoying the music that was clear.
And I think if you were teaching them like empowerment of like what they've actually accomplished, their global influence, like put more. But
a lot of it was hijacking
like,
too, though.
Slavery hundreds of years ago. I think so much of it with them is just they're being taught complete lies, and they're also rewarded for parroting them.
Well, the one fact I'll just add to this is a lot of them hijacked other cultures and stuff like that. They always be like, well, they created this, they created that. But it's like, well, without the instruments and the innovations and the technology that white people created, like, you wouldn't have turntables. You wouldn't have the instruments to use to make your music. So they're always like, we don't have culture. It's like, you live inside of our culture. Like, you are inside of it. Don't fucking gaslight me.
English too, telling us we have no culture. Like, I'm English ethnically, so I think it's always funny when I get that one.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I've English, some Irish, I think some French in me too. Like, I'm like the base level Canadian, because the English, French, Irish, and Scottish built Canada and America in some regard, but there's a lot more Germans in America.
Yes, I'm more Germanic mixed, but I'm predominantly English.
I really enjoyed this. Next time we will go live to do this for sure. And there's lots of things we can get into. There's lots of things I could have got into. We didn't even play all of the clips I had. I only had a couple more. But, tell people where to find you and where they can support you And I hope to do this again. I hope we can do it live because there'll be people in the chat with questions and stuff like that we can get into.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me again. So my is MKWhatAboutIt. I'm on TikTok, X, and Instagram. And if you want to support me outside of there, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee linked in my Instagram and TikTok bios.
I gotta add that thing in case people, because some people don't want to maybe do the Patreon. So maybe I'll do the Buy Me a Coffee thing just so people, they want to just do one-time donations. And I'm always like, support the Patreon. Yeah, the Patreon's cheap, and we got lots of extra content on there for everybody. So support the show. 5-star rating reviews. You know, we're not for everybody. We always say, like, this whole show was developed that we're not for the easily offended. Even when we weren't talking about this political stuff at the beginning of the show, we always said this is not for the easily offended. And this is not for the faint of heart. So I decided to talk about these things because I truly believe my people, their homelands, everything my ancestors built is being torn down and being replaced with ideologies that are sick and essentially will not only just destroy every white civilization in the Western world, but everyone along with it. And essentially, in the end goal will be the New World Order where they enslave all of us. So my whole thing is protecting my own, as everybody else has the right to defend their own people, their own nations, and what their ancestors built.
Absolutely.
Stay strange, everybody.